What are the top 5 apologetics books that are perfect for getting started? For this list, we're going to talk about books that are easily accessible but still yield high returns on investment. Besides readability, other qualifications we'll consider would be the length of each book, as well as the level of complexity in the presentation of the concepts in each book. Basically, we're looking for books that are easy to read and easy to understand, especially for those who are unfamiliar with philosophy or apologetics. Before diving into our list, there are a few honorable mentions that deserve to be talked about but didn't quite make the list. Number 8, God's Crime Scene by J. Warner Wallace. Cold case homicide detective and popular national speaker J. Warner Wallace really has a way with evidence and investigation. As a former atheist turned Christian, Wallace has written a series of books that chronicle his findings in the world of apologetics. The second of his 2 most popular books, God's Crime Scene, offers 8 pieces of evidence that support the existence of God. Wallace is a skilled speaker, and his talent for communication shows in his writing. He's also a skilled artist and has hand-drawn dozens of helpful illustrations throughout the book that help break up the layout and add an extra flair to the book. If you're a fan of the detective genre or CSI themes, this book is perfect for you. Number 7, Making Sense of God by Timothy Keller. Newsweek called him a C.S. Lewis for the 21st century. Famously known as the urban pioneer pastor, New York Times bestseller Timothy Keller seems to write a new book about every 5 minutes, and all of them are fantastic. Keller's pastoral heart is evident in every argument presented, as he often sympathizes with those who disagree with him. Making Sense of God is rich in philosophy, but it is also deeply practical. Instead of shouting from the finish line, Keller comes alongside his readers and doesn't shame them for their doubts. His compassion for others is infectious and reminds us that apologetics must be done with gentleness and respect. Number 6, Why Does God Allow Evil by Clay Jones. While this book has an easy level of readability, it is by no means an easy book to read. What I mean by that is the contents of this book, particularly the chapter on genocide, will turn your stomach and unsettle your nerves. All of this is necessary though, for Jones's argument is a response to the problem of evil and suffering. While most books on this topic often provide a defense, Jones takes a more ambitious approach in offering a theodicy. A defense is simply a refutation of the problem of evil, while a theodicy is an entire framework or theory that attempts to give an account for why evil exists. The potency and personality throughout are off the charts. If you're looking for an introduction to the most ubiquitous problem in the philosophy of religion, there may be no better than Why Does God Allow Evil? That's it for our honorable mentions. These next 5 were really hard to rank because each of them is invaluable. And while so many great books have been written on apologetics, any of these 5 are going to be the perfect place to start. Number 5, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist by Norman Geisler and Frank Turek. Let's get something out of the way right now. I can't stand the name of this book, and I won't fault you for finding a nice book cover to go over it. The cringy name aside, this book has a lot going for it. For starters, the combination of Turek's rhetoric and Geisler's philosophical finesse culminates into something that is easily understandable, but deep and comprehensive. Their teamwork effort instructs the reader on so many prominent issues and arguments within apologetics that the book is a sort of one-stop shop. The content itself is brilliantly organized with helpful chapter outlines that never leave the reader lost. I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist is a landmark book in apologetic introductions. Number 4, Questioning the Bible by Jonathan Morrow. Most of the books presented here are what I would consider comprehensive, giving a taste of the broad world of apologetics. These next 2, however, are more specific in their scope. Morrow's book is a defense of the Bible, and in spite of its small size, it's one of the best. Morrow tackles nearly every objection raised against Scripture, like its composition, historical reliability, authorship, transmission, contradictions, and interpretation, as well as moral issues like genocide, sexism, and homophobia. Morrow shows, very convincingly, that the Bible is not anti-intellectual, corrupted, or immoral, but in fact, reliable and authoritative. Number 3, How Reason Can Lead to God by Joshua Rasmussen. When this book came out, it was the talk of the town in the apologetics community. Rasmussen is one of the world's leading philosophers in the areas of contingency and necessity. His work, alongside with Alexander Pruss and his contribution to the Plantinga Project, are a testament to his understanding of some of the most complex issues in philosophy. While much of his work is largely inaccessible to general audiences, How Reason Can Lead to God is a dazzling little book that summarizes an argument for God based on contingency in a remarkably simple and straightforward way. All of the complex philosophical jargon and modal logic of the contingency argument have been stripped away in favor of something no less meaningful, but far more digestible. Number 2, Tactics by Gregory Koukl. Forgive me for not giving this book the top spot. Regardless of whatever other books on this list may interest you, know that this one is by far the most essential. The defining characteristic that differentiates this book from other apologetics books is its intense focus on practicality. Other apologetics books teach arguments and offer evidences, but fall blithely short of how to employ such arguments in conversation. That's what Tactics is all about. Koukl teaches how to guide conversations with questions, how to identify faults in thinking, and how to handle not only the contents of an objection, but the way in which the objection is presented. If other books are vehicles of information, Tactics is the driving lesson. No single book in the world of apologetics has inspired as much confidence to engage with others as this. And finally, at number 1, On Guard by William Lane Craig. This is the quintessential beginner book on apologetics. Craig's work is unparalleled, and his years of study and refinement are perfectly captured in this modern classic. After writing his magnum opus, Reasonable Faith, which bears the namesake of his ministry, Craig distilled its contents into this smaller, more accessible book for the layperson. It's hard to overstate the impact Craig has had on the world of apologetics, and the fact that his lifetime of research is so eloquently displayed in just over 250 pages is an absolute gift. Helpful illustrations, argument maps, and side notes abound in a perfect representation of the classical approach. For the beginner in apologetics, I can assure you there is no better book. And that wraps up our list. Are you just starting out yourself? What books interested you the most? Have you already read any of them? Are there any books that weren't on this list that you thought should have been mentioned? Please let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to read any of the books presented here, I'll leave links in the description to each of them. If you found any value in this video, would you please consider hitting the like button and subscribing for more apologetics content? And if you'd like to support this ministry financially, please visit the Standardized Apologetics Patreon page. I'd like to take a moment to give a shout out to these Patreon supporters that help make videos like this possible. I can't thank you enough for your support and encouragement.